Why, hello, folks. TenaciousEarl here. Truth be told, I'm not the most jazzed. I don't know. The name is okay, but I don't know. I feel like it's a trait that is not necessarily the most indicative of my personality, etc., etc. But one moment, I'm trying to get my Kindle here to where I can actually look at comments, because this will probably be around probably 25 to 30 minute video, I'm guessing. So just hang in there tight, because so I wanted to update on a few things that I've been up to. So let's first start with golf, because that's been the thing that I think I've been mostly dallying around here on the channel with. So let's see. I don't think I hit. There we go. All right. So Tenacious Golf Tour and Slacker Tour, for that matter. So obviously the Tire Town Invitational for the Tenacious Golf Tour was just hi Jonathan, was just finished off. And in the meantime, so I've had this. I'm going to open up my book here, because I want to look and see I can't remember what my plans were, but I'm actually, so the Slacker Tour just had its, I played the Clipper Chase. That was the name of the tournament, and I wanted to have that done the week of 8/12, which is next week. So I'm actually a week ahead, which is kind of cool. I can show you here like this how I'm using this little moleskin journal. Just to, what I have found is that or what I recall is, back when I did the first Tenacious League, I was really quite good at planning out my schedule and stuff. I tried to set it up pretty religiously, mostly on Google Drive, where I would plot out how many games each day I would get done, and it really kept me focused on playing these things out. And what? Okay. So I'd kind of like to get doing that too, because I'm going to talk about some things that will that may require some patience and some plotting / planning. So I just did Slacker Tour event number 9 out of 12. The final 3 events for that are the Slacker Tour final. Okay. So I did a little research today on the way that the PGA and web.com tours sort of mesh together. So the Slacker Tour, we have decided, so the top 25, and the way the web.com tour goes, web.com tour blah blah blah, the top 25 finishers before the final or before the playoff, they get tour cards for the next year. And the way that it works out is, so you get these the top 25. They're actually segregated going into this final, and then in that final, based on the money that they win in the final, and what we're going to use is points, because on web.com they don't use a point system, they just use pure money. But anyway, we're going to use a point system. However they finish point-wise in those 3 tournaments is going to reflect their priority in where they show up in the 2019 Tenacious Golf Tour. So, long story short, I'm not going to be ready for a few months to do the Tenacious Golf Tour 2019 and then the Slacker Tour follow-up as well. But, so, the top 25 finishers from the regular season, and then the final, you also get 25 out of that, but there's an added kicker. In those 3 tournament finals, so They happen simultaneously to the Tenacious Golf Tour playoff. Same thing with PGA and Web.com. So the PGA Tour, for their playoff, it's called the FedEx Cup. They use the top 125. They go into the playoff, at least the first tournament in the playoff, and then they kind of like pare them down. The rest, so 126 through 200 get to go and play in the Web.com final. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to take 126 through 200 or whatever, and they're going to get added into the Slacker Tour group up to 156. That's, up to 156, and we'll play out the 3 tournaments for that. But so that's how it's going to work, and there's sort of a tiered finish, and I have to look and see. I think it's 125, then 75, then maybe 30 or something like that is the final for the Tenacious Golf Tour. That might be 125, 100, 75, and then 30. I have to look and see. Let's see. I'm going to check the comments real quick before I move along. There's Mark Russell. Hello to you too. Dave S. Good day. I think Mark and Dave are both from the northern lands, the great north. Ken Castro, great to see you, and I guess Jonathan has got some strat out, so that's good. So the other thing, I've been chatting with a little bit with Benny Blades lately about mostly about History Maker Golf. He's got something he's doing sort of personally, and but one of the things that I think we both have kind of come to the agreement upon in History Maker Golf is that tournament rating is a little bit of a buzzkill, and the reason why that is because, and I think I mentioned this. I know I mentioned this in a video update earlier, but you basically know where everybody's going to finish on the final money list. There's not a whole lot of variability. So, if you're playing the 1980 set or the 2000 set or a set that's based off of a year on tour, those tourney ratings are pretty helpful because it's going to help you to recreate your money list pretty close, I would think. Problem I have is that I'm doing a fictional set, and for me a fictional set would be a heck of a lot more interesting if I didn't have all of these blasted tournament ratings slotting everybody into basically where you know that the 1As, the 1Bs, the 1Cs are all probably going to finish in the top 30 every tournament. There'll be maybe let me think, maybe 20% they might finish out of the top 30, but the rest they're going to and if they make the cut, they're almost certainly going to make the top 30. So to me, that's a little bit of a little bit of a disappointment about it. Not the biggest thing in the world, and no, I don't mean any disrespect to the play people, to Keith and anybody else that works on the game, because I think in order to be true to people who want to replay and want to have a tour season come out to be close to the way that history comes, then I think that you have to be willing to institute something that helps get people into the right tiers. Hey, Strat Delaware, good to see you. But for me, it's a bit of a, like I said, it's disappointing, and for it to be History Maker. Now, I assume History Maker a lot of that might be the name. A lot of it might be because of the style. You've got sort of the 3-column check, especially on the par 5s, which is reminiscent of History Maker Baseball. Like the Blast games seem to have a similar mechanic, and the History Maker games kind of do too. And so I kind of understand that, but the thing is that for a fictional set, in a history maker game, I'd really like to see history made, and I feel like instead history has been somewhat dictated to me by the tournament rating. And so I am brainstorming / devising a method where what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to vary the tournament rating. Well, actually, I think where I'm leaning now is I think I'm gonna basically ignore tournament ratings from now on. What I'm going to do is, there's going to be a priority rank, and they do this on the PGA Tour as well. Your major tournament winners get the top priority when you look at their priority list, and then underneath that are tournament winners that are just normal tournament winners, and then you get to all these other sponsors, exemptions, blah 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 blah, and then you finally get to the top 125, and then you get to maybe another exemption for this or that, and then you get down to the web.com people. So I want to do the same thing. I'm going to make a priority ranking. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to devise in my spreadsheets to be able to it's how I track all my stats. I plan to come up with a mechanism which will, it's going to create a random number. And so let's say, so the U.S. Open winner gets the top rating. That's Carson Rodell. He is a 1B, if I recall correctly. But let's say he's number 1. I want to have a roll, it's a roll, but it's going to be a random number. That random number, and it's going to be from like 1 to 1,000 probably, but that will tell how many places. So if it's under a certain number, then you can't go up any higher than 1, but you could go down quite a bit. And so that's what I'm hoping to do, is to try and adjust the numbers so that when you do your checks for top and all that stuff, that you end up using their priority ranking, and whoever has the highest priority ranking in that regard gets through. But I still have to see how that plays out when it comes to a spreadsheet. So this is just, I guess I'm sort of like theorizing my concept on video, whatever, on YouTube, and that's sort of where I'm leaning. The people at Play may say that and I'm sure that they would probably say, do what you want. They would probably say the tournament rating facilitated the ease of being able to do tournaments. It's quick, it's on a card, you don't have to mess around with a spreadsheet, you don't have to develop all these algorithms that do this and that and the other, and I understand. And how what I might end up doing is you might end up with ties somehow in all of this mathematical finagling. And then for the ties, I think what I probably would do is better tournament rating, better standing in this priority, but it would change tournament to tournament. So, Carson Rodell could be rated 1 in 3 tournaments in a row, and then the 4th tournament, because he gets a really high number, he gets dropped to, let's say, 95 or something like that. And then I feel like I feel like that will a little bit better mimic what happens, because guys just don't routinely perform every week. And I've seen Emmerich. I think if I look at, let's see. So how am I going to work out exemptions? Well, I still have 2 regular tour. This is from JVD. I still have 2 tournaments to go before the playoffs. I'm going to take the top 125 from the Tenacious Tour, regardless of whether they won tournaments or not. So that's going to be 125 right there. And then there's going to be 25 that were from the regular season Slacker Tour. There's going to be 25 from the Slacker Tour final. And it'll be So it'll be the 25 from the regular season. It's going to be a different 25. So we're going to end up with 175, but there's going to be a ranking. And the way I've done it this year, and it's going to happen again, is that I'm also going to use a random number generator to determine players that are off. But the only way you make it into the tournament, it's by your priority. If you don't have a high priority, you don't get in. But that's where it's going to be strange, is that the priority number to get into the tournament is then going to change once you get to doing the cuts and all that stuff. So yeah, that's just my thought. But I have to see how I have to start really thinking about how that plays when it comes to a tournament. And I may have to actually do some test stuff before I really get into it. Yeah, let's see. I gotta just check here real quick. Dave has started making his first video in a year for his channel for an APBA product. Well, guess what? Let's move on to that, because this is beginning to become more crystalline in my purview, and that is APBA Soccer. I already mentioned that I got it. Well, in the mail today, I got the most recent set of English Premier League cards. Thanks to APBA to getting them to me. So first off, as I promised people at least an overview and play it through. What I'm really hoping to do is to be able to play. I want to do a couple more test games, and I know I've been promising. I think I promised this week, but there's been a lot going on. And I would really like to feel like I'm going to be able to crank through a game in less than 2 hours. I'd really like to get it down closer to an hour. So we'll see. But again, it's been a couple days. Now, like I said, with the golf stuff, I'm ahead of schedule a little bit, so that should allow me later this week to then kind of slide right into doing some of this. Like I said, we're kind of regaining things. I gotta split up this EPL set into the. Of course, one of the great things that I've found so far about APBA is they give you the envelopes with the names and everything printed on, which is pretty nice. It's kind of nice that the sets are a little more expensive, but it is nice that they. I guess for that you end up getting some envelopes which protect your cards. So I got to split that up. And I think I am. I've had so many people when I mention this, or not so many. I've had a few people. I haven't mentioned it to a lot, but the ones that I have mentioned it to, and I say this, I think there's a lot of worry. And I have to admit that there's some amount of concern on my. But see, this is why I was saying I need to plan. So I would like to do a replay of the EPL season from last year. Thing is, it's probably going to take me over a year. So again, I'd kind of like to plan, but that means 10 matches per match day, 38 match days. That's 380 games. If I can get it to an hour a game, that would be great. I think that's probably a little, what do I want to call it? Optimistic? Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. That is the word I'm looking for. It's optimistic. It's pie in the sky. I don't think I can play 10 of these games in a week. So where that leaves me is if I could even get 5 in a week, which I think I could probably do 2 a day, a couple days a week, and then get 1 in. So then that would be every 2 weeks. So you figure that'd be about a year and maybe a third or something like that to complete a season. No playoffs in the EPL, so that's better. But I've had And again, I've been chatting about some things with Benny Blades, and he had the idea of, and he's doing it himself, sort of a 10-team split, and then doing sort of a promotion and relegation from the two leagues, which is awesome. That's fun. Pro rel is the way to go. As far as I'm concerned, in probably most sports, but in our country, it's kind of taboo. You start talking about that, especially with the soccer folks here in the United States. You start talking about that, and you start seeing mushroom clouds coming out of heads, and so I'm not like big time. I'm not big time freaky about it, but anyway, so I'm thinking about that. It'd be a long project. I have to think about it. So yeah, well, I've got to get going because my family is hitting the sack and I work early. So, but anyway, this is just a short update. It's 20 minutes, and I was going to say about 25 to 30. So that's where it stands. Thanks a lot, everybody. I'll see you soon, and I'll get some APBA stuff out here in the near future. So take it easy, and I appreciate that Strat Delaware, getting a rhythm. That's what I'm hoping to do. I want to play a couple more games before I attempt to do anything organized on film to be critiqued and gone through with a combed over, because that's what happens. So anyway, thanks a lot. Good night, guys, and that's where it stands. See you soon.